Assalamu alaikum. I received this message that I'm going to leave on the side of the screen, and I just want to start off by saying that a lot of people, when they come across the content that I make and the work that I do, a lot of people tend to make some assumptions about why I do this work, and I won't get into that too much, but I just want to say that the reason I became a certified sex educator, where I answer people's questions related to sex, intimacy, marriage, etc., is because from what I can see, the Ummah, Muslims, are struggling a lot when it comes to sexual issues within their lives. I'm not going to read out the message on the screen because I want you to read it, and I'm trying to be mindful of YouTube guidelines, but I want to address this message in this way. So this video is aimed at men and women, whether you're single or not, but really it's aimed more at singles for a reason. This video is also aimed at parents. So when I read this message, one of the immediate things that stood out to me are where this man, because this message is from a man, where this man where he got his ideas from. And I'm going to make a very big assumption, and yes, it is an assumption, so I could be wrong, but I'm going to make an assumption that some of the ideas that this man has, which appear evident through his message in terms of the things he's describing in his message, I'm assuming that some of the ideas that this man has related to sex in marriage came from things he saw online or things he saw in things like porn. So let's break it down, because, you know, the man in this message is talking about wanting to resolve issues related to premature ejaculation. He also wants to know Islamic rulings. He's mentioned some quite graphic descriptions of what he expects from his future wife, things like that. So the first thing I want to start off by saying is, before you get married, it is extremely important to discuss sexual topics with a potential spouse. Because of the times that we're living in, we can't just assume that when we marry someone that they are not consuming porn. We can't make that assumption. I'm not saying that all Muslims consume porn. What I am saying is that there are a lot of Muslims who do consume porn before marriage, and it's important to be willing enough to have those types of discussions before you get married. Some people say to me, okay, I could ask my potential spouse, but what if he or she lies? Just because you're worried someone may lie doesn't mean that you shouldn't ask the question. Islam teaches us that we need to do whatever we can to really properly get to know a person as much as possible before marriage, okay? Some people say things like, how can I ask that type of question in front of, you know, the wali or the mahram or in front of the other family members? I believe it is important for potential spouses. It doesn't have to be the first few conversations when you're getting to know each other, but I believe it's important a bit further down the line, when things might be getting a bit more serious after you've had several conversations already. There needs to be time where you are in private. It could be in the family home where you are in private. The door can be open, but it's just the two of you where you can have conversations, and there can be others in the house where you can have private conversations about these sorts of topics, because it is really important. And you can only imagine, based on the clients that I work with, a lot of people have told me that they've gotten married and they struggle with their spouse consuming porn. Now, I did mention that this is an assumption about this man. I could be completely wrong. But I do want to say that the existence of porn consumption within the Muslim community is a very real struggle. And so for that reason, in the description below, I'm going to share links to 3 organizations. Well, 2 are organizations and 1 is a community page they're set up to help Muslims with overcoming porn consumption. So one of them is called Purify Your Gaze, the other one is called My Tazkiyah, and the other one I think is called Low Gaze. I will leave links to those organizations in the description below, because it is essential if you or someone you know is struggling with porn consumption and wants to overcome their porn consumption. It's essential to get help with overcoming it. In terms of the Islamic ruling side of things, it's possible for me to make separate videos on this, but I'm not going to go into that, because what I see as the root cause, especially with this man mentioning things like premature ejaculation, there is something known as porn-induced erectile dysfunction. There is also something known as porn-induced premature ejaculation, because when a person consumes porn, it changes their brain chemistry to the point where it can affect their sexual function and can cause, as I mentioned, erectile dysfunction and premature ejaculation. So if that is the root cause, because there are different causes of premature ejaculation, if that is one of the root causes, it would be important to take steps to overcoming the porn consumption. Now, I mentioned previously that this video is also useful for parents. I have a course, the course is called Intimacy for Kids, because what I'm noticing is when kids are growing up and they have a lack of sex education, maybe they've been pulled out from sex education classes at school, they're not allowed to attend those classes, but then they don't receive faith-aligned sex education at home. As that child grows up and becomes curious and has questions about sexual topics, they're not able to ask their parents about it, or they grow up in a household where sexual topics are very taboo. But it is important, especially within Islam, for parents to provide a good faith-aligned, God-conscious sex education to kids. So I have a course for kids, and there's a section for parents too. I'll leave details about that in the description below. I have two courses for women, and I have a course for men. I will leave all the links that you need in the description below. But that is the reason I do this work. It is because I care about helping the Muslim Ummah with overcoming their sexual struggles. So my main message for this video is make sure you prepare yourself before marriage. I did create a video several years ago, which is still on this YouTube channel, but I'll leave a link to that video in the description. That video is on sex-related questions that you could ask a potential spouse. If you go to that video, which I said I will link in the description below, there is a link to a free PDF that you can get. I might also leave the link to that in the description, loads of links. There is a link to a free PDF that you can download, which gives a list of suggested questions that you could ask a potential spouse. And these are sex and intimacy related types of questions, because there's so many questions we ask when we're getting to know a potential spouse, but some people feel a bit awkward to ask questions about sexual topics. So go and watch that other video and download the free PDF, because just because you might feel awkward about something doesn't mean that you should stop yourself from asking these questions, because as Muslims, it's important for us to be aware of what's really going on in the society and in the community, just to protect ourselves. Of course, we still believe in qadr of Allah, but Allah tells us to take steps to protect ourselves, right? You could do all the right things and something still might happen once you get married, but it doesn't mean you don't take those precautions before you get married. So I hope that you found this video beneficial. If you have any comments about this, you're welcome to share in the comments below. Take care. Assalamu alaikum.